On episode 24 of Creative Love Radio, we're going to talk about how the right relationship can make you rich. If you've ever dreamed of winning the love lottery, having it all, this is a show for you. So hang on and we're going to get started. Welcome to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. We are redefining relationships to guide you to greater love, more success, and living your purpose through the latest research in neuroscience, Jungian psychology, and Eastern wisdom. Get ready for another inspirational episode of Creative Love Radio. Hello, Rob. Are you ready to win the love lottery?
Let's rock and roll.
Woo! So I know a lot of people get triggered when we talk about getting rich, right? There's such a heaviness sometimes to that. Some people may be like, woohoo, and other people may have a different experience. So notice how that resonates with you when you think about getting rich, getting rich in love.
It's a 4-letter word.
Yes.
No doubt. But the topic of how couples have such power. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's talked about. I've seen a few books here and there that talk about the power couple or the power of two. There's a book that talks about creativity and how really to be creative, you need that other partner to bounce off ideas and to generate new concepts. But we're talking about love. We're talking about real relationships and really being in an incredible relationship that also makes you more creative, more powerful, more successful, if you will.
More fulfilled.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you see the power couples in Hollywood and they're always coming together and then they're breaking up. Look at Brangelina, right? The Brad and Angelina breaking up. They were this big power couple and then it crashed. And a lot of people think that you just can't have it all. You can't have that great relationship and success. And we're going to tell you that you can. And so there are actually 3 things that you have to keep in mind when you are looking for the right relationship, and the 3 real keys to finding the right person and having great success.
Like Jim Carrey said, behind every successful man is a woman rolling her eyes.
Am I rolling my eyes at you, Rob?
That's the image most people have. Mm-hmm. But really what we want to talk about is 2 people that are equal. Mm-hmm. In power, in influence, and in getting their needs met, and able to communicate those needs with each other and that vulnerability. So let's start with the first principle that if you really want to find that kind of love, you have to include in your search. One of them is you have to know who you are.
I love what you say is that if you don't know who you are, the universe doesn't know who to match you up with. And you don't. And I remember years when I was single, I didn't even know what I was looking for. And one time I remember I joined this dating service in my early 30s. And it wasn't successful, but I realized that I didn't know what I was looking for because I kept going on these dates and they liked me or I didn't like them. And it just going on a lot of dates actually helped me understand a little bit about that I really didn't know what I was looking for. And I wasn't sure, I wasn't clear. And what we end up doing is we look for that emotional connection, that chemistry, and we think we follow that instead of following what we really want.
Right, and knowing who you are really means having your purpose in place, knowing what the hell you're doing here on Earth. What is your purpose for being here? And if you don't have that, it's very difficult to really find that match that's going to be your equal, because you're essentially presenting a false persona, a mask of yourself instead of what your real passion is. So if you don't have that, no problem. That's your task right now, is to look for what is my higher purpose? What is my passion? What am I here to do? And, you don't have to quit your job or anything if you find it, but you have to give it priority and say, this is an important piece in my life and I need to discover a way to apply this in my life.
You said a beautiful term, a Sanskrit term this morning when we were speaking about that we all have this part of us that is seeking our purpose, it's our purpose inside of us that's wanting to be fulfilled. So it's not something that we have to go out and really look for. It's almost that we have to take a step back and let it reveal itself to us.
Yeah, that's your dharma. Mm-hmm. That concept is that higher law that applies to everyone. And when you find that, the universe knows who you belong with, and you know who you belong with, and the other person knows that they belong with you. It's an incredible process, but it's definitely worth taking some time to think about it. And do I know who I am in that respect?
I always joke around that that corporate, you wouldn't have liked corporate Debbie, that I had to actually leave the corporate world and really start my business as a hypnotherapist on my own. And really that first year of starting your own business is the best thing you can do for personal development. Anyone who wants to grow themselves, start a business, because it's going to show you so much about your mind and so much deeper than just doing a workshop. You really are in a workshop of the business. And through that process, I really found out who I was and really reclaimed all my power that I've been kind of dormant when I was in the corporate world. All that creativity and all my passion was basically suppressed. And when I was able to do that, when we met, you had said that I was really happy. I was really passionate, and it's very attractive to know that. And when we say you know who you are, it's know what your purpose is really the truth, is that true self, that you're feeling aligned with something bigger than just your little persona and your little ego. There's something really amazing that you were here for, that you feel like you're home. And that's really how your partner finds you. That right relationship is someone who also knows their home. And then you're not looking for the relationship to plug up anything.
Yes,
right?
That's a good point. Absolutely. And just to be clear, it's not a certain career that you're searching for, but it's more like what expresses that deep passion in you, that true essence of who you are. The second principle that you have to include in creating this kind of relationship is you have to find somebody who's willing to grow in their personal development and in business as well. Now, it sounds like we're searching for a particular thing, but it's really that when you know who you are, you're going to naturally resonate with people that have that same kind of energy, right? In other words, you're not going to be attracted to people that don't have that big dream. Because if you have your big dream and your true passion and your purpose, you're going to resonate with people that have that too. And that's a great match right there. Because then if the other person is awake and aware of themselves, you create a synergy where you're both pushing each other to grow, to continuously grow, to really challenge yourselves in the relationship instead of just saying, okay, now I find a relationship, I can rest, I can take it easy, I can stop working out, like some people say.
Yeah, I can stop wearing makeup.
No, it's about now, how can we take it to the next level? And if your partner is willing to do that, then you start to really live into that what did you call it? The Soulmate Empire.
The Soulmate Empire. It's really interesting. A lot of people ask us, you work with Rob, you're partnered with him in business, you are you're married. How do you do it? How do you not fight? And it's because we know who we are. We're not trying to compete with each other. And we also have that, we both want each other to keep growing, and we both love growth. And so the right relationship, you don't have to work together. I want to make that clear. You don't have to find a person to do business with you. In a way, it works for Rob and I, but it doesn't work for everyone, because sometimes the partner and you have different passions. And so what happens is sometimes I think people, and I see this a lot in the coaching industry, a lot of coaches will become successful and their husbands will come along for the ride and find a place in their business. But then eventually they need their own passion as well. So it's about, if that works for them and they're passionate about what they're doing, that's great. But I see a lot of people break up because the one person is the star and the other person kind of is in the background, and they're not really, eventually they're not really living their dharma. And so you want to be both passionate. So you don't have to do the same thing. You could be in different businesses. I have some clients that both them and their husbands are in different businesses, but they're so passionate about what they do, and they're constantly working on themselves and talking about their business challenges together, and they're growing together. So it doesn't necessarily mean that. But you don't want to be in a relationship to take care of the other person's passion and be responsible for their passion. To stir them up and get them excited. I know before I met you, Rob, I always felt like I was more passionate about personal development and my business than a lot of the people. A lot of the people I dated were basically in their corporate job, and they were really passionate about making money, but not really about doing what they loved. And there wasn't that connection that you and I have. And you want to make sure that the partner you have is just as passionate about their life and their purpose as you are.
Yeah, it's more a collaborative effort between the couple to kind of be on the same page on their personal development, and then if they're doing separate things, they kind of share that dream with each other, which takes us to the third principle, is that you have to be willing to be vulnerable in the relationship. Now, what does that mean?
It means cry all the time.
No, it doesn't mean cry all the time. It means...
Let your guard down.
No, a lot of people just think of the emotional vulnerability.
Yes.
But really, vulnerability is about sharing your dream, like who you really are, and expressing that and saying, this is important to me. This is who I am, no matter how crazy and how silly or how preposterous, this is my mission to Mars, and that's what I have to do. Being able to do that in the relationship creates that bond between two people where they can cry if they need to, but they can also dream and celebrate and really be themselves in that space.
Yeah, I think a lot of us that we're looking for success and in relationships, we always try to put the mask on and try to look the best for our partners and for the people around us. And it's exhausting to keep that up all the time. And we do need that in certain aspects. We have a persona that we have to carry in our businesses and as a leader. But in relationships, you can't be that persona in private. So just like at work, if you're a career woman or career man, you go to the office, you're not going to cry and talk about your problems and talk about your fears. But you don't want to have that facade and that mask when you get home to your partner. You want to be able to say, hey, my boss really pissed me off today and I'm feeling triggered around it and really work through it, but not in a kind of, I don't know, like dumping it on your partner, but more of an inquiry and where you're opening it up for each other. Because I know for me, when I open up places I'm struggling, or you do, Rob, I feel closer to you, and also I learn from it, and it helps me see what's going on inside of me as well. Yeah,
the relationship is a catalyst for growth and a platform and a home base. And there's nothing wrong with being on the same page and in the same business as well. I mean, we're yes. We're talking about people doing different things, but in reality, the relationship and the power of the couple to inspire each other, to give each other ideas, and to support each other in those ideas. That's what we're talking about. And if you're in the same business, that is, if you're working on the same business, it's an incredibly powerful place to be. That's the power couple in its ultimate form. We don't just mean accumulating wealth and having in their own offices or domains and
never
teams.
See each other.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's not really successful when you're sacrificing too much for your business or your success life. That's not success. Success is when you are able to have it all. You're able to have great relationship, family, home, as well as business and wealth and travel. So it's possible, but it requires cultivating these principles. Like anything good in life, it requires dedication, focus, cultivation.
And your personal growth will precede your business growth. So the more you grow and understand yourself. When we say grow, it doesn't mean heal anything. It really means become more aware of who you are, that you're not the patterns that were conditioned into you, the triggered responses and the defenses that we put around ourselves through our life that helped us survive, but the potential that we are. And there's something beautiful about being in a relationship where you're both projecting onto each other the greatest potential. And that's really kind of what we feel when we first fall in love. When you meet that person, you see all their potential. You see all their hair is blowing in the wind and their eyes are sparkling. And imagine that not dying out. Imagine that you wake up with that person every day and you're seeing them becoming more and more as you're becoming more and more. And there isn't a competition. There isn't a resentment of who gets more attention or who's doing more. It's more of a very open giving. And I remember when I first met you, Rob, I was, it was always
many
years ago. I was always, trying to build my business. It must have been a little hypnotherapist practice, and there was a time where I was a little worried about money, and you were there, and I basically was crying, I think. And I was just telling you.
You were being vulnerable.
I was being vulnerable. and after you left, I was like, oh, I hope he still feels the same way about me, that I ruined the facade, the magical Debbie that he fell in love with.
I thought you were perfect.
And you thought I was perfect and I let you down. No, but that's really what we're afraid of, is that they're going to think less of us when we become that vulnerable or when we're scared. And I remember what you said to me. You said, I feel closer than ever to you now. And that really made me realize, wow, vulnerability and expressing your fears in a safe place with someone that can be supportive is a beautiful place to be, where you don't have to keep that armor up all the time, where you can just let go and you can be insecure, you can be scared, and that other person isn't judging you for it. They're actually loving you for it. And that was only possible for me loving those parts of myself. And so when you think about being in a relationship, the ideal relationship, that is really a beautiful thing. And in those places is where you grow. And like we said, the growth precedes business growth. And so let's talk about getting rich. How does that work when two powerful people get together? How does that make you rich?
It's about creativity, not in the typical sense of, being able to paint or draw or write. I mean, although some people, and, certainly we've worked with a lot of clients that is their passion. But I mean, being able to generate new ideas in your business and your higher purpose. Mm-hmm. It comes through that love that you share as a couple. And it comes through that having that security, that home base where you feel that the ideas that arise are going to be supported. Mm-hmm. They're going to be nurtured. They're like seeds that you're able to plant and then cultivate and grow. And the relationship does that for people. Just like Lennon and McCartney, they would bounce ideas off each other, and between them there was a synergy that becomes a third element, if you will. The relationship of the power couple becomes a third element. It becomes its own force, its own personality, its own energy.
It's a beautiful thing. I've been around a lot of people that have worked together, and it's really a beautiful balance to see when two people are romantically connected, adore each other, and also creating together.
Yeah.
I also think too that when you're single and we all have that masculine feminine balance, like two ends of a battery. When we connect with our own power within ourself, we and the both forces of masculine and feminine within ourself, then when we meet someone else, it's doubled. So it is that like doubling down and having more energy, more creativity, more power together. And when you're aligned, it really is this beautiful energetic exchange between each other, and then, like you said, that creating that third, that new life for other opportunities. And there's just something beautiful about sharing, being abundant, but also having someone to share it with.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned romance, because a lot of people have the idea or the ideal that romantic love is the end for a relationship. I mean, the goal, let's say. And they think once the romance fades, then the growth is over and the spark is gone, right? And you hear people talking about, we got to get the spark back, and they're trying to go back to that stage of development. It's a misunderstanding, and it's really that we haven't really thought it through. There's more to relationship. There's more to marriage than just the romance. The romance is a stage, and it's an important stage, and of course we want to keep the good elements of it. But there's other higher levels that we need to talk about. The social connection that marriage gives us is very powerful, and really this is where it starts to connect at this power level, that you build things together as a couple, and not only family, but community, business, ideas. And then there's a higher spiritual level that really transcends those things and allows people to grow in a way that it's very difficult on your own, unless you're a monk or something and dedicating
and
your
have
life.
a guru that you
or you're married to God, like they say. It's very difficult to generate that kind of spirituality, but really love and marriage allows us to do that within our everyday life. So it's a powerful, powerful way of being, but people misunderstand and they think it's got to be just romantic, right? The romantic is the end point of it all. No, romance is simply the second stage. Beyond attraction, you get to a romantic stage, but then you have to move on and evolve and grow beyond that.
Well, so before we end, let's give some closing tips for people. So if you're in a relationship, one thing to ask your partner, and if you're just dating someone, is what are you passionate about? Like, ask that on a first date. What are you passionate about?
And they'll run.
If they run,
no,
you and I didn't. We spoke the first time we spoke.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. The first time we spoke, we talked about what we were passionate about. We really were bonded over that. And I think there's so many people that are afraid to just ask, like, what makes your life? And you will, if you'll get people with the deer in the headlights, like, what are you talking about? I'm an accountant.
And you'll say next.
And you'll say, okay. But with your partner too, like, really talk about what you want to, what your fears are, what you want to create, what are you passionate about. Get to know who you are. And then if you're single, like I said, that's a great screening. When you write your profile, it's as simple as talk about your passion. If you are passionate about something, about a business or something you want to move into, talk about that. Don't talk about how fun you are and how great, you can dance through the feather.
I like to walk on the beach.
I like to walk on the beach. I like to hike. No, what's really in your heart? And I remember when I did my little profile, I just talked about what I loved. I loved doing hypnotherapy. I loved helping people. I loved spirituality. That's really what your true partner really is looking for. And someone who's self-aware is going to see through all the noise, and there's a lot of noise online of people just putting on their personas, and an awake person is going to find in another awake person. But if you're putting on an act, you're putting up a show to what you think people will like, no, you're not going to find that person. You'll have to go on a lot of dates, a lot of wrong dates, because you're not really representing who you really are. And so if you don't know who you are, then the first step is really go back to, what am I passionate about? What makes my heart sing? And if you don't know what that is, make that your purpose right now, is to find your purpose.
Yeah.
And when you find your purpose, you'll find your match.
Yeah.
Really, truly, it goes hand in hand.
And we have a podcast on finding your purpose. So check that one out if you haven't found your purpose.
Yes, and we forgot to mention that if you want to get rich, we do have a wonderful new course coming up in January called The Heart and Mind of Money. And we're going to talk about the masculine and feminine balance and energies around money, about our patterns around money, but not really money per se, but really our patterns about receiving and how we interact with money and how to create the wealth that we want.
Yeah, it's the deeper psychology of money, but without the boring stiffness of it.
Yes, and we're not going to do anything wacky or make you do any weird rituals. It's really deep psychology that's really going to help you pinpoint what is going on with you. What is your money pattern, and how is that affecting your life? And actually, a lot of people that take our money courses end up finding love through it because they see how money and love relates.
Oh, very much so.
And then we also have a 2-day event coming next year in January. We're going to be in LA for Creative Money Breakthrough Weekend. It's a 2-day weekend intensive with us. If you're interested, all you need to do is reply to one of our emails or come to Creative Love Community in the Facebook group and say, hey, I want to find out more about this. And Teresa, our coach, will get on the phone with you and talk to you about it and get you in the programs. So we're really excited about that as well. And we're also going to be doing a money event later next year in Zurich, Switzerland, the home of Dr. Carl Jung, which is going to be fun. So any parting words, Rob, before we go?
The main thing is know yourself. Mm-hmm. Like Socrates says, know thyself, right? The examined life is the one that's worth living. And when you do that, then the universe, God, life, whatever you want to call it, will find a way to match you up with the right partner.
The person you've been searching for is in you. And once you find out who you are, it does just show up on the outside. So beautiful. Well, thank you for joining us for Creative Love Radio. This is Debbie Maldonado and Dr. Maldonado.
See you soon.
Signing out.
Hope to see you in person.
Yes. Take care. You've been listening to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. For more information, visit us on our website at creativelove.com.